You're cutting my salary to $38,000. That's the first thing I said, loud enough that the air in the room changed. Patricia Wells didn't flinch, just folded her hands like she was leading a prayer meeting. 3 other executives sat around that conference table with fake neutral expressions. I barely knew their names. She slid the paper toward me like it was some kind of gift. It's part of a strategic restructure across departments. I'd seen the signs coming for months. Meetings I used to lead suddenly got canceled or moved without me. My lab access got restricted. Equipment went missing, budgets froze up. Then came the finger pointing. Missed benchmarks, faulty samples, all landing on my desk. Thing is, I knew I hadn't messed up. They were freezing me out one calculated step at a time. I didn't grab that paper, just stared at it. 94,000 down to 38. That wasn't a restructure. That was a message. Let me think about it, I said, looking her straight in the eye. Patricia tilted her head like she was surprised I didn't immediately argue. One of the suits finally spoke up. Some guy from finance, I think. We're hoping you'll stay, Rick. We know this is a tough ask. I gave him a tight smile. Yeah, real tough. And I walked out. My name's Rick Turner. I'm 43, divorced, live just outside Pittsburgh. I've got full custody of my 11-year-old son, Tyler. He's got Crohn's disease, chronic pain, hospital visits, medications that cost more than most people's rent. Insurance barely makes a dent in it. That pay cut wasn't just insulting. It was a test. They thought I'd take it because I had no choice. They thought they had me by the throat. I got in my car, closed the door, and sat there gripping the steering wheel. My hands weren't shaking. My heart wasn't racing. It was steady, because I'd seen this coming. I just didn't expect them to be this sloppy about it. They thought I couldn't afford to walk away. That was their first mistake. I drove straight home after that meeting. Didn't stop, didn't call anyone. Just pulled into my driveway, shut the car off, and sat there staring at the cracked concrete wall of my garage. I didn't feel defeated. I felt focused, like something had just clicked into place. I walked down into my basement and flipped on the lights, stepped into the one place they'd never touched. This basement lab took me 6 months to build. Every night after Tyler fell asleep, I'd come down here with my drill and my dreams. Had to teach myself electrical work from YouTube videos at 2 in the morning. Learned plumbing by making mistakes and fixing them the next day. The ventilation system, I welded every joint myself, no contractors, no permits. My ex-wife said I was wasting time and money, but these hands knew how to work. The wiring alone took 3 weeks. Had to run new circuits from the main panel, install proper outlets with ground fault protection for all the equipment. Code enforcement would have had a field day, but I made sure everything was safer than most commercial labs I'd worked in. Triple-checked every connection with a multimeter I bought at Harbor Freight. Then came the plumbing, water supply lines, drainage for the sinks, emergency eye wash station. I must have made 12 trips to Home Depot, each time learning something new about pipe fitting and pressure testing. The drain system gave me the most trouble. Had to calculate proper slopes and venting to prevent backflow, but I figured it out. The real challenge was the ventilation. Chemical work needs proper airflow, especially when you're mixing compounds that might produce vapors. I designed a system with intake fans, exhaust fans, and filtered air circulation. Built the ductwork myself, sealed every joint with high-temperature tape. The whole system could change the air in that basement 6 times an hour. My equipment came from everywhere. Some bought new, some refurbished from university surplus auctions, some built from parts I found online. That old centrifuge cost me $200 and 3 weekends of troubleshooting, but it spun true as any machine worth 10 times that price. I'd been with Chemcore Industries 8 years. When they handed me the sanitation chemical line, it was dead weight. Nobody wanted it. Sales were terrible. Reviews were worse. I put my head down, built better formulas, tested them myself, and turned that division into their top revenue stream within 3 years. The big secret? Most of my breakthroughs happened right here in this basement. Late nights after Tyler was asleep, me scribbling formulas and running tests with equipment I bought myself. Couldn't risk waiting on slow approvals and budget red tape. I had work to do, and I didn't owe them my weekends. That night, I grabbed my old employee contract. I'd read it before, but not like this. I sat at the kitchen table, circled lines with a red pen, and zeroed in on a clause I'd skimmed years ago. Company IP includes all work produced during designated hours on company premises with company resources. That was the loophole. Every single one of my real breakthroughs happened on my own time, using my own setup in my own basement, and I'd been smart enough to track it all. Time-stamped videos, physical receipts, lab logs with dates and times. I even had Tyler in a few of them, sitting at the counter eating cereal while I mixed test batches. The next morning, Tyler came down to the kitchen rubbing his eyes. Kid always was an early riser, even when his stomach was acting up. He climbed up on one of the high stools and watched me make his breakfast. Same routine we'd had for years since the divorce. Dad, how do you know what chemicals go together? I looked at him, this skinny kid with my stubborn streak and his mother's smart eyes. Chemistry's like cooking, buddy. Anyone can follow a recipe, but understanding why ingredients work together, that's the real skill. He nodded like this made perfect sense. Is that why you work in the basement? Part of it. Sometimes the best work happens away from all the noise. Tyler took a bite of his eggs, thinking it over. Dad, why doesn't the company pay you what you're worth? That caught me off guard. Kid was sharper than I gave him credit for. Always listening even when I thought he wasn't paying attention. Because they think Dad will just put up with it, I told him, setting down my coffee cup. But Dad's gonna prove them wrong. Tyler nodded seriously, complete trust in his old man. That's when I knew I had to make this right. Not just for me, but for him. Kid deserved better than watching his father get pushed around. After I got Tyler on the school bus, I made a phone call. Brian Torres, patent attorney out of Columbus. Guy specialized in chemical IP, had a reputation for being sharp and honest. We'd met at a trade conference a couple years back. Brian, it's Rick Turner from Chemcore. I need to talk. What's going on? I think I own something they think they own, and I've got documentation to prove it. We met 2 days later at a coffee shop near his office. Brian was one of those guys who got straight to business, no small talk. I liked that about him. Show me what you've got, he said. I opened my laptop and walked him through everything. The basement lab setup, the equipment receipts, the time-stamped videos of me working on formulations. All of it documented, all of it clean. You did all this in your basement? He asked halfway through my presentation. Every drop of it. Want to see the cold water formula development? I pulled up a series of lab notes from 2 years back. Showed him how I'd started with traditional surfactants, then systematically replaced them with bio-derived compounds. The real breakthrough came when I figured out how to adjust the pH balance to work optimally at 60 degrees instead of 140. Most industrial cleaners need hot water because the heat helps break down the chemical bonds, I explained. But if you modify the molecular structure of the cleaning agents themselves, you can get the same effectiveness at room temperature. Saves energy, saves money, works just as well. Brian studied the formulas on screen. This isn't just an improvement. This is a complete rethink of how industrial cleaning works. That's why it took 2 years to get right. Had to run hundreds of tests, adjust the compound ratios dozens of times. Every test batch documented, every modification logged. All in my basement, all on my own time. He leaned back in his chair, studying the screen. Rick, this is solid. Really solid. Your documentation is better than most Fortune 500 companies I've worked with. So we can move on it? We can file provisional patents today if you want. 3 of them, based on what I'm seeing. But I need to ask, are you absolutely sure about the timeline? No overlap with company resources? I pulled out a thick folder. Equipment purchase receipts going back 4 years. Utility bills showing increased electrical usage in my basement workshop. Even got my neighbor on video talking about the weird smells coming from my garage ventilation system. Brian laughed. You really thought this through. I'm a chemist. We document everything. That evening, I took Tyler down to the basement lab. Kid had been asking to help with experiments for months, and I figured it was time to show him some real chemistry. Nothing dangerous, just a simple pH demonstration that would help him understand what Dad actually did for work. Okay, buddy, see these 2 beakers? One's got acid, one's got base. Both clear liquids, but they're chemical opposites. Tyler climbed up on his usual stool, watching every move. What happens if you mix them? Depends on how much of each you use. Too much acid, you get something that can burn you. Too much base, same problem. But if you find the right balance, I started with the acid, added a few drops of indicator solution that turned it bright red. Then slowly, drop by drop, I added the base. Red faded to orange, orange to yellow, yellow to green. Why is it changing colors, Dad? Because we're finding the perfect balance. Each color tells us how close we are. 3 more drops. Green faded to blue, blue to purple, and finally to clear. There, perfect neutral. Tyler stared at the clear solution. It's like magic. Not magic, just understanding how things work together. That's what I do with the cleaning chemicals, too. Find the right balance so they work better. Is that why the company needs you? Kid was getting too smart for comfort. That's part of it. Problem is they don't want to pay Dad what he's worth. So what are you going to do? I looked at my son, this bright kid who'd been watching me work down here for years, absorbing more chemistry knowledge than he realized. Dad's got a plan, but it's going to take some time. The next day, Brian called with news. Provisional patents are filed. All 3 formulas, all under your name. Timelines clean, documentation's bulletproof. You officially own this intellectual property, including the cold water compound, especially the cold water compound. Rick, that formula alone could be worth millions to the right company. While Brian handled the legal side, I started working another angle. Carl Brennan, CEO of Texol Industries. We'd crossed paths at a trade show a few years back. Guy knew talent when he saw it, and Texol was Chemcor's biggest competitor in the industrial cleaning space. I sent him a private message through LinkedIn, professional, casual, just asking if he had 15 minutes for a video call. Didn't mention why. He called me back within 2 hours. Rick Turner, I remember you from the Chicago Expo. You're the guy who turned around Chemcor's sanitation division. That's me. What can I do for you? I cut straight to the point. I'm looking at making a change. Wanted to see if Texol might be interested in a senior R&D position. Are you talking about leaving Chemcor? I'm talking about bringing them some competition they weren't expecting. We set up a proper video call for the next day. I spent that evening putting together a portfolio, the real one, not the sanitized version Chemcor took credit for. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every formula that had made them money over the past 8 years. The call went exactly how I'd hoped. You developed all this? Carl asked, scrolling through my presentation. In my basement lab on my own time with equipment I bought myself. And Chemcor doesn't own any of it? Not according to my patent attorney. Carl leaned back in his chair. I could practically see the wheels turning. What are you thinking, Rick? Senior Product Director. Full R&D authority. 185 base plus performance bonuses. That's a significant jump from Chemcor. I'm bringing significant value. But I've got one condition. The patents stay mine. We license them, we don't transfer ownership. I keep control of my work. Carl didn't even hesitate. Done, I'll loop our legal team in today. That was the moment I knew I'd won the critical move. Not the whole war yet, but the piece that mattered most. Meanwhile, I kept playing the part at Chemcor. Showed up every day, did the work, acted like a guy trying to figure out how to make that pay cut work for his family. I spent the next 3 days playing the perfect part. Showed up early, stayed late, acted like a man wrestling with an impossible decision. Every conversation with Patricia, I fed just enough doubt and desperation to keep her thinking she was winning. I just don't want to uproot Tyler's medical team, I told her during one of our check-in meetings. His doctors here know his case inside and out. Last month's appointment alone cost us $863 after insurance. I can't risk starting over somewhere new with his treatment. Patricia nodded with fake sympathy. Of course, Rick. Family comes first. We understand you need time to process this. What she didn't understand was that I was already 3 moves ahead. That evening, Tyler found me in the garage, sketching out ideas for my next project. Kid had this way of showing up whenever I needed to think clearly. Dad, you working on something new? Yeah, buddy. Something bigger than what I've done before. He climbed up on the workbench, careful not to disturb my papers. What makes it bigger? Well, most cleaning chemicals work on just one problem at a time, like having separate tools for every job. But what if you could create a system where all the chemicals work together? Like a team? Tyler's eyes lit up. Like in video games, where different characters have different powers, but they're stronger together? Exactly like that. Kid was going to make a hell of an engineer someday. See, right now, a factory might use one chemical for degreasing, another for disinfecting, another for descaling. 3 different products, 3 different suppliers, 3 different training programs for workers. But if they all work together, then you'd have one system that could handle everything. Smarter, faster, cheaper to run. Tyler studied my sketches. Could you build that in the basement? I've already started. Want to see? I led him downstairs to the lab. In one corner, I'd set up a small prototype system. 3 different chemical reservoirs connected to a mixing chamber with automated dosing pumps. Nothing fancy, just proof of concept built with parts I'd ordered online. Watch this, I said, starting up the system. The pumps engage, drawing precise amounts from each reservoir. In the mixing chamber, the 3 solutions combined into something that looked like plain water, but would outperform any single cleaning product on the market. It looks like nothing. That's the point. Most cleaners are full of dyes and fragrances that don't actually clean anything. They just make people think something's happening. This works better and costs less to make. Tyler dipped a finger in the solution, then looked at me with concern. It's safe, I said. pH balanced, no harsh chemicals. Could probably drink it and just get a stomachache. While I worked on the technical side, I got a call that changed everything. Alex Murphy, one of the junior chemists from my old team at Chemcor. Rick, you got a minute? I'm calling from my car. That told me everything. Kid was scared to talk from the office. What's going on, Alex? They're trying to reverse engineer your formulas. Word is, legal thinks if they tweak a few compounds, they can work around whatever patents you might have filed. I sat up straighter. Who's running that project? Patricia's got some outside consultant working on it. Guy named Wilson used to work for Dow Chemical. But Rick, the samples they're testing are garbage. Nothing's working right. They won't be able to pull it off, I said. Too much trial and error involved, and they don't understand the underlying chemistry. Maybe not, but Patricia's telling everyone you're bluffing. Says you don't have the resources to fight them in court even if you did file patents. She's about to find out how wrong she is. After I hung up, I called Brian immediately. We need to move faster. They're already trying to steal my work. Rick, relax. Let them waste their time and money. Your documentation is airtight, but you're right. We should accelerate the timeline. Texol's legal team worked fast. Within 48 hours, I had a complete offer package sitting in my email. Employment contract, benefits breakdown, the works. Everything looked good, but Brian wanted to review the licensing agreements one more time. We need to make sure the royalty structure is bulletproof, he told me over the phone. Texol gets exclusive licensing rights, but you retain ownership. Monthly payments, not annual lump sums. Why monthly? Keeps them honest. Harder for them to walk away from small regular payments than one big annual bill they might want to renegotiate. Smart thinking. This is why you hire professionals. I spent the next week finalizing everything with Texol while maintaining my act at ChemCore. The hardest part was watching Patricia grow more confident each day, thinking she had me cornered. She even brought in HR for a wellness check. We're concerned about you, Rick, the HR director said. This transition has to be stressful, especially with Tyler's medical situation. It is, I admitted. Tyler's been asking questions about why Daddy seems worried all the time. Kid's smart, he picks up on everything. More fake sympathy. More assumptions that I was helpless. But I wasn't helpless. I was ready. The day before my planned confrontation, I got everything in order. Contract signed with Texol, start date confirmed for the following Monday. Licensing agreements drafted and reviewed. Patent documentation organized into 3 neat folders. I even practiced my presentation in the basement with Tyler as my audience. Dad, you seem different, he said after I finished my run-through. Different how? Like when we went camping last summer and you woke up before sunrise just to watch the sun come up. Happy different. I looked at my son, this smart, tough kid who'd been watching his father prepare for war. Tyler, what would you say if I told you Dad was about to start a new job? Are we moving? Nope. Still the same house, same school, same doctors. Just Dad working somewhere that appreciates what he does. Tyler grinned. Will you still have your lab down here? Even better. I'll have a real lab at work, and I can keep this one for the fun stuff. Can I still help with the fun stuff? Wouldn't be the same without you, buddy. The next morning, I put on my best suit. Black jacket, pressed shirt, polished shoes. I looked like I was going to court, because in a way, that's exactly what this was. Just not in front of a judge. I drove to ChemCore headquarters with no music, no distractions. Just the sound of my own breathing and a manila envelope sliding around in the passenger seat. 3 licensing agreements inside, 1 for each formula. I parked in the visitor lot instead of the employee garage. Small detail, but it felt important. I wasn't an employee anymore. I walked through those front doors one last time, ignored the receptionist's fake smile, and headed straight for the boardroom. Patricia's assistant saw me coming and stood up like she was going to block me. I've got a meeting, I said without stopping. But she's not expecting, she is now. I pushed the boardroom door open. 7 people inside. Patricia, 2 executives from legal, 1 from operations, 3 guys I didn't recognize. Didn't matter. I walked straight to the head of the table and dropped that envelope right in front of Patricia like I was delivering a court summons. Licensing offer, $1,400 per formula per month. 3 formulas total. Starting immediately. She didn't touch it, just sat back and crossed her arms. You don't own these, Rick. I opened the envelope, pulled out the patent filings, and spread them across that table like poker cards. Actually, I do. Filed, time-stamped, and documented. Every compound developed outside your walls, off your clock, with my own equipment. One of the legal guys leaned forward. That's a stretch, Rick. You used proprietary data in some of this testing. We can tie it back to company resources. I looked right at him. You can try, but if you push this, discovery's going to get messy. Pretty sure your servers still have Patricia's emails about quietly phasing me out before the 3rd quarter. That's just the beginning. Patricia's eyes narrowed, but she stayed quiet. I wasn't done, and just so we're clear, this isn't a negotiation. I've already accepted a senior director position at Texol. My start date's Monday. These licenses are exclusive to you until Friday. After that, they go to whoever wants them. The room went dead still. One of the guys I didn't recognize, VP of something probably, picked up a sheet and skimmed it. If this formula works as claimed, we're going to lose half our margin without it. Patricia finally spoke, her voice low and tight. We made you, Rick. You don't walk away from everything we invested and hold us hostage like this. I leaned in, steady. No, you underestimated me. That's different. She stood up like that was supposed to rattle me. You've got a sick kid, right? Crohn's disease. What happens when your new job doesn't work out? I actually smiled at that. What happens when your board finds out you let the company's top IP walk out the door and gave the competition full market access? Nobody answered. One of the younger executives finally asked, "Are you open to an annual licensing deal instead of monthly?" I shook my head. Nope. Monthly keeps you honest, keeps me in control. You want stability? Don't try to screw me next time. Patricia's mask finally cracked. Her jaw tightened, her voice went hard. This isn't over, Rick. I picked up the empty envelope and walked to the door. For you, maybe. For me, it just got interesting. I didn't even make it to Friday. They caved in 2 days. Brian called me Wednesday afternoon. Contracts signed, funds wired, licensing deal active, $4,200 a month every month just to keep using the formulas they tried to steal for free. By the following week, Patricia was gone. No press release, no big goodbye, just gone. One day she was head of operations. The next day there was a vague internal memo about organizational shifts and performance realignments. I knew what that meant. Somebody higher up finally looked close enough to realize how badly she'd screwed up. My first day at TechSol, I brought Tyler with me after school. Kid wanted to see where Dad would be working. We walked into my new lab together, and I watched his eyes go wide. Dad, this place is huge. Yeah, it is. Real equipment, real budget, real team. I showed him around, pointing out the spectrometers, the chemical analysis equipment, the computers that could model molecular interactions in real time. It's like your basement lab, but for grown-ups. The basement lab got us here, buddy. This is where we take it to the next level. Tyler sat in my new office chair, spinning around and looking out the window at the city. Dad, you look different now. How so? Like you're not worried about money anymore. Kid was right. That afternoon, I'd stopped by the pharmacy to pick up Tyler's monthly medication supply. $863 for his Crohn's treatment. Before, that number would give me headaches for 3 days, figuring out which bills to delay. Today, no problem. Didn't even check my account balance first. 2 weeks later, Alex called me at home. Kid had left ChemCore the week before. Couldn't handle the chaos anymore. You saved me from that place, he told me. Any chance TechSol's hiring? Actually, yeah. We could use someone who understands the old formulas, help us integrate them into the new system platform. 3 months later, our team rolled out the bundle system I'd been sketching in my garage. Not just individual cleaning chemicals, but a complete platform where every product worked together. Smart sensors, automated dosing, temperature adjustments. The whole thing. We tested it at 3 major plants. Cleaning time down 40%. Energy use /60%. Training time cut in half. One plant manager called me the day after installation. This thing just works, Rick. We'll never go back. 6 months later, Carl called me into his office. Rick, we've got an opportunity. ChemCore's board wants to discuss a buyout. Quiet, no public noise. What do you think? I thought about Tyler's last doctor visit. No insurance hassles, no fighting over coverage. His treatment's fully covered, his health stable for the first time in years. Kid had even gotten into that competitive summer science program in Chicago. Full scholarship. Yeah, I told Carl. Let's hear them out. But under our terms. The deal closed 3 weeks later. Full buyout. ChemCore kept its name and some structure, but everything else changed. New leadership, new direction, and I was appointed director of R&D over both companies. That night, Tyler found me in the garage. I was sketching ideas for the next generation system. More automation, tighter precision, better reporting tools. Dad, you look different again. How so? Like you're not carrying something heavy anymore. I looked at my son. This smart, tough kid who'd watched his father get knocked down and fight his way back up. That's exactly right, Tyler. Exactly right. The pay cut wasn't punishment. It was fuel. I didn't yell, didn't burn bridges. I documented, I planned, I outmaneuvered. In the end, the quietest moves made the loudest impact. No one saw it coming, but they sure felt it.